We have spoken to you about fracking and natural gas and about wind power. It is obvious that the continuation of thoughts would lead us to solar energy or to sun power, which provides a very hefty amount of energy, even when it is untapped. For it is a primal energy feeding much of the earth through photosynthesis, through warming, through the generation of light power. Now, solar power can be tapped in various ways and has not been exploited except in its crudest forms. For solar power is a power that can be used simply to warm, and thus it can be used to generate heating as well as hot water in most homes the way they are built. For it is a simple matter to have solar power generate a warming of water on panels that are either on walls or roofs, and the water then would travel through pipes within these panels to be heated and thus stored, and can then be run through floors, walls, or radiators within a dwelling to create warming, as well as storage for hot water that can be tapped for household or even for commercial use in some building projects, though such is oriented more towards homes since it is a smaller usage normally. But such would function well for many factories. Also, solar can be used to generate dry air heat by having air move through panels similar to those of which we have spoken, and then to be forced through ducts within a building environment. But solar is not limited to this, because it can be used to generate electric. But it can also be used, although not thought of as often, as a way to move gas. And by the moving of gas, you can create refrigeration. Thus, solar power can be used directly to power refrigeration for storage, and such would be beneficial for warehouses, most especially, and for shipping containers and cargo that would be on the road. Now, it is seen that such could be done with trailers, for tractor and trailers. Such would be utilizable for box cars and for those large storage units that would go into shipping, as long as they have the proper amount of sun available to the area that the storage unit would have exposed. And sometimes this might become impractical. It would therefore be said that you should consider this, but not assume it is always beneficial. However, Solar can also be used to generate the very electricity that would be needed to fuel vehicles that would travel on electrical energy or upon the electrical and magnetic energies as they interchange. Solar power also is often tapped at a fraction of that which is possible. Thinking in design for automobiles, very specifically, which would benefit both the aerodynamics and the rigidity of the frames of vehicles, solar can be used by changing from a smooth surface to a ridged or dimpled surface, but most especially a ridged surface, although a dimpled surface would be aerodynamically at times superior and would create a larger surface for solar collection, so either would be beneficial. In such as would be then to be seen that the ridges would run with the airflow, so such would also benefit the stability of the vehicle, whether such would be a ground vehicle such as a car or a truck, or whether such would be an airborne vehicle. This ridging would be beneficial in allowing the airflow, as would dimpletures be beneficial in allowing airflow, for such is more aerodynamic and does lead to greater stability. It would further be said that such ridging would increase the solar capacity because it increases the area of the surface, which brings us to that which would be considered architectural design. While buildings are often facing flat sides or even having flat sides electronically move to collect the sun, and panels are used to collect the sun, a greater collection of sun can be occurring in the same space or area by using ridges of which we have spoken. Not only is this beneficial in collecting more solar energy because more area is exposed to light, but the rigidity of the building material is enhanced and again is more earthquake resistant and more resistant to storms and wind damage, thus is beneficial in all of its ways for the architectural design of buildings. This being the case, then, it would be said that you are at this point utilizing only a minor bit of the solar power that you could have as you tend towards flat panels and roofed areas. Now, of course, when you begin to speak of architecture, most people think simply of the base shape of a building, and they do not realize that the building surface area is determined by the building material, and that when that material is ridged or crinkled or dimpled, that the surface area increases substantially, especially over a large building area. Such is also true with roofing materials, and it should be added that paints also are of importance when we speak of gathering solar energy, for much in the line of paint is thought to be the ideal for protection. Thus paint smooths like cream, yet paint that is made so that it has a naturally rough appliance increases the paint's surface area as well. So if you have a paint that is applied to something that is ridged, you have increased the surface area by ridges, but if the paint then is also something that is very changing of its depths, you have increased on a scale again the ability to actually absorb light and energy and thus heat and thus solar power. So all of these things are important, whether it be for the design of a car or for the structural building of a home or for the ultimate architecture of large office buildings and even city structures. Again, of course, as we told you when speaking of wind, buildings can be faced to harness wind power to direct wind flow. Buildings can likewise be used to harness the maximum amount of energy from the sun. And it is possible to use the same building structure to harness both maximum wind power and at the same time maximize solar enhancement. So you need to look beyond the immediate. When people say that you can build something more environmentally friendly, they picture the idea of a building being built with trees on the roof and trees and shrubbery on the balconies and birds nesting here and there. Sometimes such might be the case, but normally what you want to have is a structure that is environmentally sound. Of course, we will speak later of how structures can also impact the environment as to weather and rain and precipitation and the way in which they would draw electromagnetic fields. But more importantly for the topic at the moment is that you realize that structures can be very beneficial just using basic solar energy, and that even if you do not want to convert that energy to electricity, which is very doable and can be stored in various ways, not to mention only batteries, but can also be stored in crystalline structures and even in grounded structures, or should we say in underground structures. So, right now, you should be looking at this as not simply some pie-in-the-sky dream, but looking at this as a financial boon for the future, for architects and builders and producers of building supplies. Have a virtually new and unlimited field that can be exploited to bring money to many, many people on various levels of construction, all the way from investment down to the person working on the ground, making cements and painting structures and driving nails. For these are the future of building, both small and great. We leave you with blessings and with peace. Peace be with each of you.